Welcome to the Founder Podcast, where we explore the journeys of some of the most successful and inspiring entrepreneurs from around the world. I'm your host, Chris Lee, a serial entrepreneur with a passion for building and growing businesses. Throughout my career, I founded multiple nine-figure businesses and learned a thing or two about what it takes to succeed in the world of business. I want to share those lessons with you by searching out the coolest guests on planet Earth and have them share their own incredible stories. But this podcast, it's not just for entrepreneurs. It's for anyone that's looking to be inspired by these stories of people who have overcome incredible odds and create something truly remarkable. So join me on this journey as we explore the fascinating world of entrepreneurship and meet the founders that are shaping it today. Let's dive in. Yo, welcome to another episode. Today, I am joined by Mr. Dan Lok himself. So Dan, many of you guys may have seen him on social media. He has over 10 million followers across all the different channels. He's on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, he's there. Dan has built a national brand involved in sales. He's now doing Dragon X Capital. He's got really cool things going on. I'm really excited to dive in and get to know a little bit more about Dan, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Well, Chris, just being on the show makes me feel cooler already because you only interview cool people.
That's right. The coolest people on earth. Yes, sir. So Dan, I know a lot of what the direction of your business and whatnot has changed a lot over the years. I know back when we first met, me and Dan, kind of give you guys our history. We met at a conference called Funnel Hacking Live. This was, 4 years ago. I had been in business about a year and a half with Solgen, my business at the time. We had just closed out a $25 million year. Dan ran a podcast. He was there also getting recognized for doing 8 figures in his business. And so we shared the show a little bit for his podcast. You were building a sales brand in which you were teaching high ticket sales and those type of things. What are some of the changes that you've seen over the last few years since then?
Well, I think a lot, and because of that, the hyper growth, and you experience the same thing in your company as well, right? And I think for entrepreneurs, for most of us, we started our business for different reasons. For some, maybe we want more freedom, right? For some of us, because we want to provide a better future for our family. For some, because we couldn't stand our boss, and we say, hey, I can do this better. Screw you! I'm gonna start my own business for revenge. And we got into it for different reasons. And I think initially, which is I think who I am has also shifted. Example, where when I started off on social media, when we met at Funnel Hacking Live, right? I think I was still very much driven to build a bigger followers. Like, hey, I want more followers. I want more people viewing my content and all of that stuff. Example, fast forward today, I'm just talking kind of personal journey, right? That becomes a lot, like I don't really care about that anymore, like to build a follower, to have more followers, and when is enough, so I don't care about that. Second would be to just make more money, right? And after a while, I also learned, hey, you know what? Yeah, it's good. You have the nice things. You got a house, you got a car, you got the stuff, right? And then I learned that, hey, you know what? That doesn't float my boat that much either, right? So I think as an entrepreneur, I think I've kind of evolved over the years. Where in the last few years that I have changed. I think for someone, if anyone that follows my content, they will see the type of content I put out, or the way I put out content has also shifted, right? I think people can also pick up. It's a little different perspective and different energy as well. So that's from a kind of personal side, right?
So dive into that a little bit deeper. So you've evolved, you've changed. Like what is like changed inside the mind and the heart of Dan Lok over the last couple of years? So you're not as
I
focused on the
think
material things, the followership. Like, yeah, what's kind of some of that personal journey?
I think when I got on social media, the drive, kind of the motive was more like I you know what, I want recognition, I want fame, right? I want people to know, because at the time when I went on social, there were only basically three main business influencers, right? Three, and I thought it could be fourth one, right? I thought I could have a different voice, and I would have this idea of I want to have more followers than so and so, right?
So who were the
And
other
all
three?
this.
Who were the
So at
other
the
three?
time, I think it was Gary Vee, right? Gary
Yep.
was big, and it was Grant, and then it was Ty Lopez. Three, basically three main, right?
Yep.
And I was like, there has to be a spot for fourth, right? I think I could build that, and I have a different take on things, and maybe I could do that, and I did, right? But it was much more like, someday I want to have more followers on YouTube than so and so. Then there's the Gary, right?
Right.
And it was a lot of those things, Chris, I think was driven by insecurity, and insecurity manifests as ego, right? And I remember the day still, like when my YouTube followers bypassed Gary's number, and I thought, oh man, finally, freaking, I mean, I did it, man, I did it. What I realized, when I that day, I'm like, yeah, right, I did it. I worked so hard. Well, my wife didn't care. My team didn't really care, and I think my followers didn't really care, and I'm certain Gary didn't care either. Right?
Right. He
It's
probably didn't even
all
know.
this. No freaking didn't care. Like, who's this guy? Like, it doesn't matter. But it's all my own little insecurity, ego, competition, all that BS, and I thought, then maybe I should revisit in terms of like, look within, what are some of the things, like why do I feel this way, like why do I need to compete, or why do I feel this ego, this thing, and
So
I
would
just
you
evolved.
describe that feeling of like after you accomplish that kind of empty? It just wasn't
It's
as
empty,
fulfilling as
and
you had
it's like
imagined.
it's emptiness, and it's like insignificant. It doesn't matter. No one cares. Like, it's not suddenly something has, like, it's not something someone just, hey, here's an award, you just did it, or no one cares except
Right.
little me, right? And a lot of
You
these
know, it's
goals with money, the same thing.
yeah, it's so interesting. You bring up like such an imperative principle that people really need to understand is like we put so much around the arrival of our goals, right?
Yeah.
And we, at least I do, and I've seen others do this as well, right? Like we become obsessed with oh, life's going to be different when I have $1 million in my bank account, or life's going to be different
Yeah.
when I have 10,000
10
rental
million.
units,
Yeah,
or
whatever.
10
Yeah.
million, 100 million, right? Like we put this feeling that we're chasing attached to a goal, and we think that that's what we're going to feel, and then you get there and it's not. And
It's
a
not.
lot of times it's opposite of the feeling that you were chasing, which
No,
is
and
crazy.
I think what I learned through the journey is like, hey, what it's kind of looking within, what actually motivates me and what makes me happy, and what makes me tick. And if I don't have to worry about all this, it's kind of expectation, or in some cases, I would say that it's like distraction illusion, right? When I kind of get rid of all that stuff, then who I am as a human being and what I enjoy doing, and that just gives me so much clarity. It gives me tremendous clarity. Okay, so now moving forward, Taylor, what do I want to do, right? If I'm not thinking about all these stuff, right? What do I enjoy the most? So you fast
So
forward
what is
today,
it?
a few
What is
years
that?
later.
What is it that drives Dan Locke today?
So if you ask me for, let's say, 4 years ago, right, when we talk, right, I have certain numbers. I want to get to a certain amount of goal. I want to get to, a billion. I want to get half, whatever it is, right? You ask me today, I would tell you, Chris, I do not have a personal goal,
So
and I know that
what
sounds.
drives you? What excites you? What gets you out of bed now, right? It may not be a goal, but like what are you passionate about now?
I still love business. I like to do business, right? But not using business as a way to fulfill my ego, not using business as a way to get to somewhere. Finally, I feel good. It's just it's something that I enjoy doing. I've been doing it for a long time. I enjoy building things. I enjoy building team. I enjoy working with people. I enjoy coming up with strategies and helping business grow. I want to do more of that. If I have all the money in the world, I still would do that. It's like, if you have all the money in the world, would you still do this? If you do, then good. Do that, right?
Right.
I like to now I prioritize with, of course, my family. My mom is now in here, so I spend time with her. Family, that's important, right? With my wife. I prioritize my health since I've lost about 30 pounds since like we met, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I exercise
You
every
look a
day.
lot
So
better.
I'm in. Thank you. I'm in better shape today at 42 compared to when I'm in my 30s. So health wise, right? And I'm the happiest. I'm more fulfilled. Now I just pick on. I love businesses, but I just pick on projects I like to work on. I like to work on certain things, and I want to see what I can do business wise, just like an artist, right? You're painting the next nice painting. What is the next thing I could create? So I just enjoy the journey, but I do not believe in it. I do not have a certain financial goal of, if anything, now I think my life is simpler. I have less stuff in my life where I actually don't need that much, right? I was actually joking with Jenny, my wife, the other day. You know what? I haven't really bought anything in a long time. Like, like anything substantial, like
Right.
anything. I'm like, I have no interest. Like, I don't want another watch. I don't want another car. I just, it doesn't interest me, right?
Right.
She's like, yeah, you haven't. And then my wife is like, but maybe I should. I said,
She's like, give me
honey,
that new handbag.
yeah. It's like, just redirect the conversation. Maybe I should. Oh, maybe you should. But I haven't
That's
thought of
funny.
anything. And that just shows like, oh, now I'm doing what I like to do, working with entrepreneurs I want to work with. But funny thing is, Chris, we kind of talk a little bit about this, right? That money, when money goes to people who don't really need it, who are not desperate for it, right? And it seems that when you're in this state of mind, opportunities, money, or wealth, it flows to you with less effort, right? So that's what I'm working on today. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a book. It's called "How Will You Measure Your Life," and it talks about how there's motivating factors, and then oh, I forget what the word he uses, but essentially he compares money to oxygen, right?
Mm,
When you don't have it, it's the only thing you can think about, right? Like if I
yes.
can't pay my rent, I can't pay my bills, right? Put food on the table or whatnot. Like it's the only thing that occupies. Same without oxygen, right? If I'm drowning, like the only thing on my mind is how do I get the next breath of air? And then once you get enough of it, once you have enough of it, once I have oxygen, I no longer think about breathing, right? And once I have enough money, I no longer think about like and so it fails to be that motivating factor. Like
Yeah.
initially it can drive you, right? Like it
Yes.
can push you
We
whatnot.
all need
But
that.
right,
Hmm.
right, but you know, later it's like, wow, this no longer drives, this no longer motivates. The accomplishment is in something completely different, and that's what where in this book he refers to as the motivating factors, right? Like being the best version of yourself, taking you know, finding joy in the growth of others and creation or whatever it may be,
Hmm.
and when we focus on those motivating factors, just like you're sharing, the money follows value creation, right? When we chase money, it seems to elude us. But when we chase value creation and things that motivate us, money automatically comes, and you know whether we like it or not. And
Yes.
that's a beautiful principle that I think like both you and I would share with all people that are out there chasing it, right? Like
Yes,
go
and
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 find.
you have to go through it. You have to kind of get it out of the system. Like I tell young people, hey, don't get that Lamborghini, don't get that Ferrari. They don't freaking listen, right? They got to go through it to get out of the system, and then they realize, okay, that's not the thing. Then they will search, okay, then what is the thing, right? And then maybe they may be thinking, oh no, it's not this one. Let me get the second car. Okay, get the second one, fine, right? And then, oh, that's still not it. Then they would come to their realizations. Oh, there is something else. This is not it, right? And then I go through the same thing. It's nothing wrong with that. right?
Yeah, yeah. To your exact point, I think one of the best philosophies that I've ever heard on money is like get rich as fast as humanly possible. Like go and make as much money as you possibly can as fast as possible, because then you'll realize that's what it's not all about,
Yeah,
right?
I
Because
agree.
the people that don't get rich, they spend their whole lives chasing this, right? This
Yeah.
empty feeling that they think that they're going to just accomplish. But then they may someday at the age of 70 get there and like, wait, what? This is what I was chasing for the last 60 years of my life?
Hmm.
And so if you can go and get rich in your 20s or your 30s, you're going to quickly figure out like this is not what life's about, right? It's not about the
Yeah.
money. There's so much more to life. And then you'll be able to find joy in everything else that all these other people are only finding pain in, right? They don't find the joy in the journey. They don't find the joy in the relationships. They're just enduring because they're chasing that almighty dollar, thinking that somehow their life is going to completely change, only to find out that their joy should have been in that whole path all the way up.
And something, and we recognize some things. It's the little things in lives that brings us happiness. It's the little things,
Oh
which
yeah,
it seems so simple, right? You don't need the. I'm not saying go for it, go for it, build that. You want to chase that 100 million, go for it, right?
absolutely.
But then the little things is like yesterday, I was just with my mom. You think about, I spent my whole day just with, no working with my mom yesterday, right?
That's awesome.
And I do that once a week, and we just go out, have a little dinner, take her to buy little groceries, right? Now you think about in terms of hour per dollar, it makes absolutely no sense,
Right.
right? It's like for entrepreneur, it costs us so much money when we're not working, right? But then at the same time, like my mom is very happy, I spend time with her, like all these little things. I think if you asked me many years ago, I wouldn't do that. Like, no, I got stuff to do. My time is too valuable. I don't have time for that. And now it's like,
Right.
it's not about that. It truly is not
Yeah.
about that. So,
Yeah. Because if you were
and I
chasing the
think for
almighty
most
dollar,
entrepreneurs, yeah,
if you
no,
were
no,
if you were chasing the almighty dollar, you would have hired somebody to take your mom grocery shopping, go and pick
yeah,
her up the food, right? And be like,
yeah,
no, I took care of my mom. I did my
yeah,
duty.
yeah, yeah. It's efficient,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Let's go for efficiency. What's the SOP, right? Like but but then that's not. And I'm not doing it. Oh, I'm supposed to do it because I'm a good son. It's not like I want to spend time with her, the little things with her, like just like we were sitting there talking about this apple for 5 minutes. Like again, it makes no economic sense,
Right.
right? But I know for her, it's such a big thing for her. Like it puts a smile on her face, and I love spending time with her. So like
Yeah.
all these things I think I've evolved over the years. And so example, Tris, I'll give an example. Like even my social statistics, whatever follows, I haven't looked at it for probably a couple years, honestly.
Wow. That's
I don't
awesome.
know. Like you asked me how many views before, I would be, hey, click through rate, watch time. I mean, I want to track freaking, and we still track everything. Just my teams looks at it. I don't look at it because I don't care,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like, oh, this video is going. I don't care. How many people download my thing? I don't really care. I don't really know. They would know better than I do, right?
Right. No, it's interesting because I mean, really, what we're all changing is a feeling, right? We're chasing joy, we're chasing happiness, we're chasing
Yeah,
exhilaration, and you can
yeah,
get those things in so many different ways, right?
yeah,
And so, which is so funny. Like some of the things that bring me so much joy, like you bring up like spending time with your mom or going shopping, like it's funny. The other day I was taking a shower, right? And I went to like put my shampoo on my hand and it was out. And and then I remembered I had two more bottles sitting in like a closet. And that gave me so much joy. It was so funny. It was just like I'm so happy that like I don't even have to worry about now I got to go to the store again or whatnot. Just the fact that I have two extra bottles of shampoo sitting in my closet, like
what a
that
day,
that
right?
brings me happiness, and there's so many different ways that we can achieve happiness, and really figuring out like what motivates you, what drives you. Is it pain, is it reward? Like there's so many there's so many different things that like once you stop focusing on money and you get down to the root of it, then you just become a true value creator.
Correct, correct, correct. And then
So
I
good.
think part of it also, to circle back to your question, where knowing what your kind of what your gifts are, like what your strengths are, right? When you can spend most of your time kind of in that zone that, hey, example, I know I'm very good at teaching, right? Because I've done it for a number of years, right? That's people would like my training, they like my programs, just the way I teach. So like, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter. You give me $1 billion, I still want to have a portion of my time teaching because that makes me happy. I see people getting like transforming, really getting those light bulb moments. I like that, right? I like to
Awesome.
study business. I like to synthesize and simplify certain concepts for my own business, for my partners, for my students. I enjoy doing this. So it's intellectually stimulating, right? If you ask me to say, hey, Dan, I want you to go to the mall and do shopping for a day, and like that would drive me crazy because it would bore out my mind, right? You tell me, hey, I want you to be in your library, come up with some business frameworks and concepts. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm like, this is great, this is awesome, let me do that, don't bother me, right? So I enjoy doing that, so I want to do more and more of it. So that part I enjoy, right? So I think knowing what you are good at and what people recognize you for and what you enjoy doing, just do more of it. I know what Chris and I what we're talking about on the show is so simple. It sounds so, oh, come on, guys. Like, I mean, it's so simple. But I think once you get to a higher level as an entrepreneur, you would then appreciate what we're talking about. Although it seems simple, but they are profound.
Absolutely. Dan, you've obviously done some incredible things throughout your life. What
Mhm.
made you you? Like what were some of the hard things that you experienced early on in your life, in your career that really were shaped who you are today?
I think a number of incidents, example, when my mom and I immigrated to Vancouver, Canada, right, to a foreign country where I don't speak a language, right? I was 14 years old as a teenager, had no friends. And then when I think the divorce, when my mom and dad got divorced when I was 16. So that was, I think, a pivotal moment in my life because suddenly I realized, hey, I had to grow up, man up, mature, take care of my family. As the only son in my family, I got to take care of my mom. Like I need to be resilient. I need to like just grow up, right? So that I think taught me something. When my father went bankrupt at 17, couldn't take care of us, couldn't send us money allowance anymore. I learned because before then I wasn't interested in money. It's not something I think about. Oh, suddenly, oh, it's like what you were talking about, oxygen. I need oxygen. So I learned the importance of money. I think that was a pivotal moment. Going to school, getting bullied, getting beat up, that was like a shit, man. Like people sometimes are not so nice, but I think that gave me the initial motivation in life to say I want to be something. I don't want to be pushed around. I don't want to be bullied. I need to be strong to take care of the family, take care of the people I love, right? It's almost like revenge kind of determinedly. Like I'm gonna prove you wrong, right? I'm gonna be somebody so no one can mess with me kind of thing, right? But later on, I think that shifted to more. It's a different. It's like it's like a automobile, a car, right? Think about you could have hate, fear, and revenge as motivation, but they're kind of like diesel. It works, but it's just not good for the environment, right? But later on, you can switch. Hey, I still want to make the car go, but maybe I want to change to electricity, right? Right? I want to
Absolutely.
use something that's a bit more healthy, right?
I love that analogy. Diesel, it works, but it's not good for the environment. But I do think it is important. I think everyone has to go through a stage in which pain is the driver, right?
I
Like
agree.
where
I agree.
it motivates them, it gets right. And it's interesting. It doesn't necessarily even have to manifest in the environment. You can use it just to draw on like, hey, you know, I don't ever want to be in this position ever again, or I remember when it was like this, right? Like, and those type of things can push and motivate you. Um, for me, I am motivated by pain, but I try not to, like, as you're talking about, use something that hurts the environment. but
Yes.
my personal environment, but try to use things like punishments that keep me going because I know I'm more motivated by a punishment than I am by a reward, right? And so, like for
Which
me, if I
most
want to
people
lose
are. Yeah.
weight, right? If I want to lose weight, hey, assistant, I'll pay you $100 for every time I eat a bite of sugar, right? Like, and I just want that pain that's going to keep me in line. But yeah, you bring up a great point. Like there's different times of life, different seasons in which you use different levels of motivation.
Yes, yes. And I think a lot of that and why I think for the first 10 years, let's say call that 10 years of my career, where because a lot of things was more ego driven because insecurity again, right? People who are
Hmm.
egotistical usually because of insecurity. So because I was insecure, so a lot of the business decisions making things I would do is it's more because of the ego, right? When we strip away our ego, now the kind of our true self could show, right? Now it gets manifest in our business. Hey, how would we do things, right? What business, how would we conduct business and the way that we do things. So I think I learned a lot just through that process. But circle back to your question. So it's a number of these things, right? Business wise, of course, starting businesses, failing in businesses, all of that, which we've all gone through, right? That's learning from those lessons. And I'm still learning.
Yeah.
The difference is, I think, Chris, I think the biggest takeaway that I have learned is I'm no longer chasing.
Dan,
I'm no longer chasing something.
it's interesting, and I want to applaud you for this. When we first met and talked 4 years ago, like there that was a different Dan, right? I can see it just in our
Yeah.
conversation that we've been able to share over the last couple hours. Like
Yeah.
you're a new dude. And I love that you recognize that, like, hey, I was insecure and I was all about ego, and that you've made that shift. And it, like, I can tell there's like so much more passion now and so much more like
Mm,
just wholesomeness. Like the value that you're creating now is so much greater than just smoke and mirrors and for the
mm.
show.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
I just want to applaud you for that because I can feel the genuinity that you have now compared to 4 years ago.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And still, of course, always work in progress. And I think I like the new me a lot better. I think my friends love the new me a lot better, and I'm just happier and more fulfilled. I'm simpler, and I enjoy what I do, and it's great. Like it's just I don't know how to describe it. Just great, right? And things I do, and we get to connect, and this is why you say, oh man, let's connect, let's see, let's chat, and it doesn't matter. I mean, you have a podcast, no podcast. I'm just happy to chat, to catch up, to see what you're working on, because I can learn from that as well. Because part of what I enjoy is business, right? I want to hear, oh, what you're
Yeah.
working on, and what are some things I could learn from that as well. So yeah, I would say just I'm happier human being today.
That's so cool, man. Congratulations for making that shift, man. Because that's a hard shift for anybody to take. Like recognizing that, like, hey, my insecurities were manifest in my ego, and to make a shift, like
Mm,
most people never get there. And so,
yes.
congrats on that.
Oh, thank you,
Um,
thank
you
you,
know,
thank you.
obviously you've been through a lot in your life, like being an immigrant, coming and learning a new language, building
Yes.
up, seeing your parents go through divorce. Like these are all like so many hard and but yet phenomenal things that allow for real growth and putting down roots and everything. What is driving you today? Like what's next for Dan Locke? What business are you working on? How are you creating value today?
I ask myself and this is an exercise I take through some of my like kind of advisory clients, and something I think would benefit your audience as well, right? And I take them through this exercise, and the exercise is
Awesome.
called "What if you have a billion? What if you have $1 billion?" Right? And I basically walk them through it. It's like kind of like this. Okay, now imagine you sold your company, you've done something. What you have $1 billion in your bank account right now? What are you going to do with that? Do with that money? And what they would tell me, and they would have different answers, right? Something, oh, I'm gonna buy a big house for my family. I said, okay, how much is the house? $5 million. I said, okay, great. What else? I'm gonna buy a car. Which car? I'm gonna buy a Rolls Royce. Now buy two. Okay, $1 million. What else? Right? And then they go through this. And after they say they bought everything they want, right? Oh, you still have $950 million. What are you gonna do with that money? And then you will see people after a while they struggle with. I'm gonna donate to charity. Okay, which one? How much? Oh, I'm gonna give 10 million to this charity. Okay, you still have $940 million, right? And let's say you just put that in the bank and just with interest rate, you still have this much money every year you gotta spend. And it shifts their minds. And suddenly, like, what it does is a few things, right, Chris? One, people recognize they actually don't need as much money as they think. Because I sometimes, you know how you talk to people,
Absolutely.
I need this much and this much. But at the end, it's like, what are you going to do with it? You actually don't need as much as you think. That's like to live a very good life. I'm talking like a very good life, right? You don't need, I need 100 million. Do you really need 100 million? Do you know what I mean? Like for most people, if you're like netting a few $100,000, you live a pretty good life. Seriously, right?
Absolutely.
Pretty good life. And the second thing is they recognize, if money is not part of the equation, what would I actually do?
Right.
And the truth comes out. Because if you have the money already, what would you do? Now, and then you get some funny answers, right? You get some funny, I would travel the world. Where? Oh, I would go to Europe. Okay, how long? 1 month. And then? Oh, I would go to Asia. Okay, where? I would go to China. Okay, for how long? A month, 2 months. Then? And then you after a while they would stutter, right? They would be like, there's nothing going. Okay, good. You traveled the whole world 1 freaking year. Now what? Right? And they suddenly it gives them so much clarity. It gives them so much clarity. Okay, the things I want, maybe I don't need as much money as I think. The things I want, they're actually closer than I think. They're not so far distance. Maybe I don't need $1 billion in order to travel. Maybe I could travel a month, once a year. For 10 years, I could go to all these destinations that I wanted to go, right? It gives them that aha moment. And number 3 is like when money is not part of the equation, then what would you actually do with your day? And that gave me the clarity, right? And I said to myself, if I could do that, if I am 85 years old as an old man, right? I still want to do business. I want to hang out with young entrepreneurs, right? I want to have conversations. I want to be able to maybe add some value, provide some advice. I would do that until I'm 85. Then it clicked for me. Then why don't I do that today when I'm 42? Right. Why don't I do more of it, right? And then how do I structure my business in such a way that give me that all day, every day?
Right? I love that exercise because a lot of people wonder like, why does Warren Buffett still work every day, right? Like why is Warren Buffett still live in the same house that he built or bought 40 years ago or whatever? And it's to your exact point. You realize
that's exactly it.
That the finances don't change the game, right? It's still the game. It's still fun. It's still enjoyable to be investing, to be involved with entrepreneurs, to be passionate about something. And so that's awesome. What would you say are some of your habits that really have helped shaped inform you?
I have a few, I guess, interesting habits I've developed over the years. I share that with again just a few of my investment partners and things like that. Where I'll give you a few. So one, we know most people don't get what they want because sometimes they procrastinate, right? Like I'm supposed to do that, but I don't do it. And I operate my life based on always believing how you do anything is how you do everything. How you do the little things is how you do the big things. So it's an example. When I get up in the morning, most people that get up in the morning, they'll be like, grab the cell phone, kind of sit in the bed and kind of roll around and, for 30 minutes. And then I don't do that. All these years, the minute I hear the alarm, I jump out of bed. Like the second I hear it, there's no, maybe no, boom, I get up, right? immediately. So I train myself, I condition myself to do that. That's number one, right?
So
A second thing is
let me ask you that how did you get to that point where the alarm goes off? Like, what games do you play in your mind? Like, what got you to the point where you created that into a habit?
I just made a decision to do it.
Just made the decision. Awesome.
It's like I just made the decision. It's like people don't smoke. I just made a decision not to smoke. That kind of thing, right?
Love it.
I just made a decision. Hey, alarm goes off, I go. There's
Okay, so
no.
that's number
That's
one.
just who I am. Yeah. The second one is we all know. Let's say we're supposed to drink 8 glasses water a day, right? So at home, what I have, one of the habits is like this big jug of like water next to me. So I know, okay, this is like 1 liter of water. I need to finish two of these a day every day, right? But if I'm grabbing a cup, I know it's a little silly mind game that we play, but stay with me. So let's say I'm gonna grab a glass of water. So what I do, I go to get the water dispenser. First, I just fill it up. If I'm gonna get 1 glass, I'm gonna fill it up. I'm gonna drink the whole thing first. Then I filled up the second cup. Then I bring it back to my office or whatever it might be. So I got my 1 cup in already. Then I drink the second one. That trains me to always, you would say, over deliver and go the extra mile kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I
Just
love
little
that.
things like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's so James Clear in Atomic Habits, he talks about having triggers, right? That
Mm,
you habit stack, and so you essentially what you've created is this habit stack of when I go to fill water, I always drink a glass, and so that I
first,
can get an addition, right? And it's like your reward system or your stacking of habits that gets you to ultimately the 2 liters of water or whatnot.
that's
I love that.
exactly it. That's exactly it. Like
That's
little
very
things like
cool.
that. Yeah, like, and I have a lot
Awesome.
of these little habits that I have uh, that I have created over the years. I read every single day,
Mhm.
so that's another habit I have. I read
What are you
every
currently
single day.
reading?
Right now, I'm reading a book on venture capital, of course, right? I'm reading a lot on venture capital and called Venture Deals, which I've read before, but I'm just revisiting again. It's a very, very good book. And um, but at least I would say an hour a day. That's part of my habit, like reading every single day. And I can speed read, so I can read quite quickly. So I have a lot of
Awesome.
books in my library, but also on Kindle. If I have any kind of dead air time, like dead air time, I always, if I'm reading something, I'm waiting for someone, I'm reading from my phone. If I'm driving, I'm listening to some sort of podcast, some sort of training. I don't listen to music except when I'm working out. I listen to music, but then other than I don't. Just little things like that. Little things
I
like
love
that.
that. Those are all great habit stacks, right? Like you're in the car, you automatically turn on the Audible or the audiobook or
Yes.
whatever it may be.
Yes.
You go and you fill up the water, you automatically do this. You never listen to music. Yeah, and I mean those are really the keys to success is one having habits, but two creating stacks and triggers that put you into those habits every single time. And so I appreciate you sharing those with me. So you talk about reading books or whatnot. Have you ever written a book, or do you plan on writing a book?
I have. I have written quite a few books. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think
Which one would you recommend to my listeners that they read?
I would say that this is actually the perfect example of that. So many years ago, I talk about ego. Like talk about ego. Um, I think that was this got to be more than 10 years. I don't remember it, but more than 10 years ago. That was my most popular book out there. It's called F You Money. No, it's called F You Money.
All
No,
right.
no title is more egotistical than that, right? Right? That's pretty egotistic. And then a few years ago, I wrote my latest book, which is called Unlock It. And I think from there you would see the transformation from fu money to unlock it, and part of kind of the conversation we're having today from that ego person, right,
Absolutely.
to someone who's a little bit different today, right, learning about myself. So I would say unlock it would be the most accurate representation of kind of how I see things in life currently, right? That was a couple of years ago. I've evolved since then, but that would be quite accurate of kind of my
Very awesome.
journey. Yeah.
Cool. So where can my audience find that book? On Amazon? Where's the best spot
Amazon,
to pick
like
it up?
Amazon can get it. Yeah.
And you
Audible,
said
or the Audible version as
it's
well.
called Unlock It,
Unlock it, yes.
and it's spelled LOK, I'm assuming.
Oh no, just LOCK. But it
Oh,
has
okay.
that
Yeah.
hidden meaning in there, yes.
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, do you plan on writing another book, or is that it?
I don't know. Maybe I will when I am a little bit older now, because I just felt that I'm more like a work in progress. I'm learning about myself. I'm doing a number of things. So I'm like, I don't feel like I have a, I need to grow a little bit more, right? To have kind of
Love that.
to have to something that is like something that's pivotal. It's like, hey, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm 60, when I'm 55. I don't know when the
Right.
moment is like, hey, I got a different message that I want to share, and I think it's the right time that I will do it. But currently, I don't feel that there it needs to be. And plus, I'm distributing just my content and all that, and people can get that anyway. But maybe a little bit later, I felt that, hey, it's a different part of my journey, right? And I don't know how that will evolve, because
No,
I'm
I
quite,
love that. I think
yeah,
you're exactly right. Like a book should be written at the right time. I think a lot
yes,
of a lot of
yes,
a lot of entrepreneurs try forcing it. They do it, they do it through a ghostwriter, or they just do an audio thing, and it's just kind of
yeah,
halfway written. That serves a certain purpose, but I think you're at your
yes,
point in your career where it's like, okay, you need to be
yeah,
ready for the message, and I agree with that.
yeah. Like I'm almost waiting for a sign, like, from the universe, and from like, hey, it's time for you to do, And I think if I am doing my next book, that will be my final book, right? Like
Yeah.
that would be like, this is going to be the most important things I've learned. I don't know what the theme would be. Like it could be something complete. I don't know, but I'll see what download I get. But I would say that would be. I need a sign. I need something that calling from within. Hey, it's time to put that on paper and then share with people. Right.
Awesome.
I haven't received that yet.
Awesome. So Dan, I know you've been through a lot of ups and downs and whatnot. Every entrepreneur has in their career had a lot of success, some failures, or whatever it may be. What is some advice that you would share for maybe a young entrepreneur or even an old entrepreneur that's maybe going through a rough time right now? The economy and stuff are down, interest rates are high. There's a number of businesses that are kind of struggling to get through what's going on right now. What kind of advice do you give to that guy or lady?
I mean, you and I, we can talk business all day. I mean, you can talk. We can talk team building. We can talk social media. We can talk marketing, lead gen, sales. I mean, we can do a 10-hour podcast on sales, right? So
Right.
a lot of those things, I'm sure your audience, they could get it from many many places. They get from me. They get from many many places, right? We don't. Um, but I think I'll give you a few key things. I think first, if you are, let's say you're stuck in business, meaning you're not where you want to be, you get a certain level, you're not going to the next level, or your revenue is not growing as fast. I think most entrepreneurs, they get into this mode of, oh, okay, I gotta, I gotta solve this problem. But I think most entrepreneurs, they don't spend enough time identifying what actually is the problem. So it's not the problem, it's how you think about the problem. So let's say someone comes to me and they seek advice and say, "Oh, I'm not making enough. My sales is not growing as fast. I need more sales." Well, that's not the problem, right? And then when you unpack it, kind of look under the hood, okay, what is the problem? Oh, it's actually my salespeople are not performing. They are not closing enough sales. Okay, that's not the problem either. Why are they not closing sales? Do you have a problem recruiting? Do you have a problem interviewing? Do you have a problem with the scripting? Do you have a problem role playing and training them? Do you have a problem with your compensation, incentivize them to have the right behavior? Do you have a sales management problem? Your sales manager can manage them. What is it? Right? So we don't think about that. We go into, oh, let's go into the fighting mode versus kind of take a step back. What is actually the problem? And that
I
is
love
very
that.
hard to do, easy to say, right? Very hard to do. Um, and
And I
another
think
thing that
what
I
I
would
think what
share,
you're
yeah,
I think what you're demonstrating there is like ask a question, dig deeper, ask another question, like
deeper, deeper,
dig until you get to the root. Because
the
yeah,
root. Yeah,
most people never get to the root of anything, problem,
yeah.
goals, anything, right? So I love
I'll
that.
give an example. I'll give you a perfect example. So one of the entrepreneurs I'm advising, running a pretty decent sized business, and he comes to me and say, "Hey, Dan, I have people problems. My team is not performing the way I want." Many people have that problem. You mean my team's they're no good. Well, why are they no good? I don't know, because just don't perform, they don't behave, they're lazy. Okay, what happened? Well, and then you notice, and I said, who hired them? I did. Who interviewed them? I did. Why did you hire them? Well, because they seem good and all that. What's very interesting now, Chris, fascinating. I said, no one has people problem. Every single person has leadership problem, right?
Absolutely.
Because you choose to hire the person, recruit the person, retain the person, and keep the person, all that. And then I said at the very end, that is still not the problem. You have a leadership issue. Do you recognize that? Yeah, I do recognize that. Where does it come from? Oh, now the truth comes out. So it turns out he has an internal problem of trusting people. Because I don't want to go into the whole thing, but he's got family issues, so he has problem trusting people because of family and
Yeah, and
growing
probably
up environment.
deep roots into like a
Deep,
childhood
deep
issue, or yeah, crazy.
childhood, like abusive issue, all that stuff. So he has a problem
Right.
trusting people. I said, hey, do you see that? So you don't have a people problem unless you solve this root problem. You as a CEO, you will never get good people because you never trust people. So when you don't
Amazing.
trust people, you hire people that are like mediocre. You feel like you can control, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, let's solve that thing first. So you know what I mean? So that is a very deep thing versus a surface. Oh, let me get you a better job description. Has nothing to do with it,
Right.
right?
Oh
You know what I
man,
mean? But they
that's
would
good.
ask,
That's
give me a
great.
better job description. That's not a problem, right? And the second kind of thing that could share is I call it 3S, right? And this would help any entrepreneurs. Doesn't matter what stage you're at. You're doing a few $100,000 a year, you're doing a few million, you're doing tens of millions, 100 millions, doesn't matter. And it ties into what I just shared with you. It's not the problem, it's how you think about the problem. What's the root? Now, when you look at it, I say there's 3S. Is it a strategy problem? Is it a skill problem? Or is it a system problem? So, in other words, if it's a strategy problem, meaning, hey, I'm stuck, I have this problem in my business, I don't know what to do. I don't know the right strategies to actually solve this thing. Example, we are not getting enough leads. Well, should we do door knocking? Should we do Facebook? I'm not sure if we should do Facebook or we should do YouTube or we should do pay per click or we should just cold call. I don't know which is the right path, what to do. I'm lost. A strategy issue, right? If that's the
Right.
case, we need to have clarity, extreme clarity, before we execute. So that's strategy. Now, the second thing is, if it's not strategy, meaning we know, example, like with your company, we know we are supposed to do Facebook. That's the thing that we're going to do. That's the blue ocean. I am certain that is 1000% the right strategy. Now we look at skill, but we don't know how to do Facebook, right? And Chris, what you did, you invested $2,500 into Facebook, locked yourself in a room. I'm going to figure this out. So you're bridging the gap. So what is skill? Skill is the ability to execute on a strategy, right? So now I know the strategy, but I don't have the skill. So let me go get the skill so I can execute on the strategy. Great. So now I learn how to do Facebook, how to lead gen for my business. I have this skill. Awesome. Once you have that, then you look into, okay, but I'm the one that's running all the Facebook ad. I'm the CEO. I don't have time. I need to have some systems in place so that my team would know how to do it. They would know how the ads work. They would know how to do the inbound, how to pick up the phone, or how to reach out to customers, how to follow up, how to do the quote, all of that, right? So that's the system thing. So when you break it down and say, okay, I'm not happy with the results. Is it a strategy thing? Is it a skill thing? Or is it a system thing? Now, what most entrepreneurs do is when they are supposed to be focusing on skill, right? They're chasing strategy. So they go to workshop after workshop, they hire consultant after consultant looking, give me the perfect strategy. And they do have the strategy, but they cannot execute, or their teams cannot execute, right? So now they actually have a skill issue, but they try to solve that with strategy. That's not what it is, right? Or they have the skill, but it's not duplicating, it's not replicating, it's not scaling because they don't have the systems to keep repeating those successful actions. So then it's actually a system thing, it's not a skill thing. But when you have that clarity, you just sit down with the executive team. Hey, is it a strategy thing? Is it a skill thing, or is it a system thing? Oh, it's a system thing. Oh, well, let's go into that mode. But if your strategy is clear, you don't need to overthink or procrastinate or overanalyze. Like, hey, this is the right thing to do. We just need to get the skill so we can just go full like beast mode on execution.
Dude,
We can just do
I
great,
love that. Man, I
right?
mean, that's perfect gold, right? Like those three things. Is it strategy? Is it skill?
As a
is it
system.
yeah, is it a system? Is it scalable, right? Like and so man, I think any, like you said, any entrepreneur at
Yeah.
any level of the game can take that and apply. Man, I appreciate your time, man. You've dropped some incredible gold. Dan, where are the best? I mean, obviously you're all over social media. Where's the best spot to find you? Where are you dropping the most content today?
I think like YouTube is always big, but my website, if you go danlock.com, it branches out to all the social media anyway, right? And if
Awesome,
they want
awesome.
to see my latest insight, you pick up the book, Unlock It. It's on Amazon. It's on my website as well. I mean, that would help them as well.
Very, very cool. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much today for being on here. Until next time.